We should talk Savile.
Okay, sure,
We've
yes, I know.
crossed paths a couple of times.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
One time I remember you were talking about Savile and you did the impression and you were talking about how his vowels, he had sort of Yorkshire, that was obviously infused with a sort of Leeds Yorkshire accent, but that he had quite posh vowels, clear, resonant tones, his O's.
His O's,
I can't really do it.
I'm always slightly concerned now because obviously I played him in a very dramatic, not funny context, which is very important.
In The Reckoning for BBC's sort of accountability project, the drama written by Neil Mackay.
That's correct, yeah.
You were nominated for an award, I think.
Yes. As my mother said, they won't give it you. They're not going to give a BAFTA to a paedophile. So,
well,
and there's certainly some truth in that.
There is some truth in that.
Yeah, that was.
But you played him on Spitting Image. Is that correct?
It is, and that was why it's quite odd because in that context that was before it all came out. But there was a sort of a feeling about him, which was reflected in the Spitting Image character. That was very cartoon, grotesque.
He would say, "Jangle, jangle, jewelry, jewelry."
Yes.
Was that your line?
That was my line, yeah.
Did you come up with that?
Yes. Yes.
He said, I spoke to him, obviously I made 2 documentaries, I spent a couple of weeks filming one of them with him. He said he never actually said that.
Well, no, of course he didn't. Did he actually say that?
I think I asked him, yeah.
I'm so tempted to do it, but...
It's hard to know. I meant to check with Millie before the taping.
I just think...
Are we allowed to do him or not?
I sort of feel like...
I did an audio book where I did a sort of half power...
The only time I've noticed is in an episode of This Time as Alan Partridge, I almost accidentally do Jimmy Savile, and the joke is the fear in the look of Alan's eyes when he realised he nearly did Jimmy Savile. Now that, I think, is legitimate way to do it, because it's about the fear of...
So you can't trivialise it.
Obviously. Look, when we did it, I made sure... Look, we met the survivors, and it was important that we did it in a very grown-up way with proper, diligent application. And, there was humour on set, certainly, but I had to be very careful. I couldn't start goofing about in public because it's a very serious subject. But sometimes there was a gallows humour, not to do with what he did, but it was I'd do it on set because it was so heavy, and we're doing it for months, and I just shaved my head twice a week, so I had a bald head before I put all these wigs on and stuff. So I was like, it was a very strange, intense period, and I even this is something I said before. I wore his shoes, his actual shoes. So I was walking literally in his actual shoes. And
why would you do that?
It was there, and they said, "How do you feel about this?" I paused about it long, and I thought, well, if I'm going to go there, I'm going to go there. And I felt like I should in for a penny. I dived into it without thinking about it too much. People say you're very brave. I think it's just a job. My job is to do this, is to execute this character in as accurate a way as possible to help tell a drama that is truthful and not do a caricature, because that ultimately is a disservice to those who survived his abuse. And if you do some sort of pantomime villain or something like that, that's also not very responsible. So you sort of had to some extent, humanise him, because bad people are human beings, and that's the thing, the unpalatable truth, and that's what we had to. So we did all that, and we did, and I and
it was done. I should say with unbelievable, or rather totally believable verisimilitude. Like the amount of everything in it, I think, was sourced in the historical record. Neil, the writer, had obviously gone deep into his research. The recreation of his penthouse in Roundhay in Leeds was perfect.
Yes, I know.
They'd obviously studied photos or documentation. Yeah, everything was reproduced.
It was, and that apartment. I remember sitting in that was actually in South Manchester, Heaton Moor, near Stockport. That set,
right?
Quite big. And something that was odd at the time was we had to go and film the BBC scenes in this courthouse in Bolton, which had a circular-shaped structure like the old BBC television centre, which was kind of it was called the Donut, in fact. And I bought an apartment for a while. I had an apartment in the old BBC television centre, which was in that donut, as they call it, this round structure. I mean, I actually since got rid of it, but I remember I was acting as Jimmy Savile, walking along a fake BBC corridor that had a curvature to it. Then I'd go home to my flat in London and walk along the real BBC corridors where he perpetrated some of his crimes when I was just going to the gym. And that sort of weird flip of actually living near where he did those things and then going 250 miles north to simulate that. Sort of got inside my head a bit. I mean, I do remember at the end of that process wanting it to finish. It's funny because all the time I was like, this doesn't bother me, this doesn't bother me, this is fine. I'm just doing a job. I'm dispassionate about it. I didn't have my lunch as Jimmy Savile. I'm not a method actor. I just stopped. You know, cut. Good. I'm not doing until you say action again. And also, you know, I meet these young actresses who I had to, as characters, abuse. I would meet them in the morning and say, let me meet them before you turn me into Jimmy Savile. So I can say, look, I'm Steve, I'm here, we're going to work together today, have this normal conversation, and in 2 hours you're going to see me and I'm going to look very different, but we know what we're doing. It's a job. And that then meant there was no self-consciousness when it came to shooting the scenes. But so we go to extraordinary lengths to make it all very grown up, and the only humour would have been some bleak humour with the cameraman in the morning, just to relieve the tension, because it's so intense. And I'd been doing it for 4 months. I think towards the end, I remember I went to the trailer one morning and I sort of felt like, I sort of shocked because I felt like I wanted to burst into tears. I felt like really sad, very sad. And like I had this huge sort of blanket on me, this cloak on me. And it wasn't helped by the fact that when we went to the Bolton courthouse where we shot it, the only way for me to avoid the press when I looked like Jimmy Savile was to put a blanket over my head and take me in through the door of the court where they took the accused in, up those steps, into the courthouse, through the courthouse and along to the set. So every day I would do this weird ritual of, as if almost as Jimmy Savile, I'd been arrested for those crimes when he was alive. That was just to get me to the set without the press seeing me. The BBC, of course, were absolutely paranoid about any slip-ups, any banana skins along the way to this thing. So it was uber controlled. But I remember being very glad when I took those shoes off. I felt like the unbearable lightness of being. That's what I felt after it stopped, because I was shocked that its effect just before the end of those 4 months, it started to be depressing.